Hey everybody, welcome to today's lecture. We're talking about the Argus climate control system. This is going to control all of our grow rooms, the flower 1, 2, mother room, and our irrigation system, and it controls carbon dioxide enrichment, the light intensity, hours of light input, temperature, humidity, and our irrigation, which is all extremely important stuff. It's a pretty expensive program, but if you have it, you can automate your system very well, and it's extremely helpful for large-scale commercial operations in many areas of horticulture, cannabis included. And for us, it's extremely helpful so that no one has to come in on the weekend and take care of the plants. We can just program it. So that was our home screen. We're now clicking into, they call them zones, like a room or a greenhouse will be called a zone. And this is our flower 1. Over here we'll have meters showing us where we're at for our climate targets, and they're a little bit outdated and not always as helpful as you would hope for they would be, so usually you have to just kind of know the numbers you want and go off of the readings that will be projected on the sides. Right here, this is going to be equipment controls. Right now we only have CO2 dose enrichment and our lights on here, and you can see the lights are on and we have them dimmed to 55% in this room. Most of the, let's go over here first. You have, for every room, you'll have climate statistics listed over here. And this is very helpful for, just seeing where your temperature, humidity, relative humidity, and they have like whole graphs for everything that you can download and look at and everything. So very, very useful information over here. They also have a lot of information that is like specifically just for greenhouse growers, like over here, like outdoor temperature, light, wind speed, rain status, so that if you are growing somewhere where you can utilize rainwater, you don't overwater your plants while it's pouring rain. So very useful stuff here. Now that we're clicking into the installation service menu, we'll have all of our options for adjusting the parameters of data collection for our rooms. And your most used point of this is going to be set points, and this is where you build your schedules and apply them. So you'll have many options. You can see a list of schedules that we've already created. Some we did with a class and others I've created. The only one that's active for this specific room is going to be set point program 1. And we have this in flower right now. So when you click into a program, this is where you'll construct everything. You'll have your overall parameters, the things that you want to measure or change. Temperature, humidity, CO2 level, and our lights. If you want something to be constant throughout it, you'll just list it right at the top here and it'll carry it down. For these that we change a lot, you see the carbon dioxide, we're only putting in a small amount, increasing it, and then decreasing it so that we're not enriching an environment that doesn't need it, and we only use it for the brightest hours of the day. So no need to be enriching CO2 at night. Over here, you can see our light inputs it goes from 0%, that's when the plants are sleeping, and then 100% the rest of the time they're on. And that 100% we can manually override to lower it, or you can schedule it into your overall schedule. I like using the manual overrides just because I use the software so frequently and can just come in and just change it if I feel like it. So that's definitely very useful. Let's see. And these are just like the hours of the day listed on the side here, so you know when you're going to be applying these. Okay. So that's really most of what you'll have to do inside each single room. The irrigation system is what you're going to use a lot more than just like your overall room parameters. Like I will just set a program for the rooms and I won't change anything unless I'm making like a significant shift, like I'm moving plants from vegetative to flower. Then I'll change their light cycle and apply a different program. But for the most part, I'm really not using that too much. The irrigation system I use almost every day just to just kind of see where our system is at, and like if I see visibly like physical dry plants, I'll check the system and make sure they're not about to receive water, and then I'll add manual watering in here. So I'll show you a few things. All right, this is going to be where we control our schedules from. This is really important for the overall operation of this, and you can see a few important things off the bat is right here. You'll have multiple different options for schedules. We really have one that we're using, but it'll say here zones to water. This one has 2 and the others just have 1. So that's an important note. You can add a manual watering by just clicking initiate manual watering. So if your schedule is not giving them enough water and you see they're dried out, you can just go to your computer, initiate a watering, and move on. Or if you see that they're overwatered and you know one's coming up, you can clear the watering queue and it will negate that. So clicking into our schedule, here we have our manual watering options so that you can just change these and access it easier from your previous screens without having to go in here every time. So manual watering options there, just duration, pulses. Like a pulse, when they say pulse here, it'll say like 2 minutes of water will go through for one pulse. And if I added a delay, if I added, let's say, a 1 minute delay, it will stop the water. After 2 minutes of watering, it'll stop for 1 minute and then add a second pulse of 2 minutes. And that's just a good tool to use so you're not just flooding your plants. You give them a little time to absorb that water before you give it more. So down here you can see we have different types of watering triggers. We use an equation, and this says we will do 2 minutes of water, 3 pulses of the 2 minutes, so 6 minutes total, with 2 minute delays between each pulse. And over here you have to drag the bar to see this, but there is a kind of overall parameter for the schedule, and it will say your start time. So start time, end time, this is like, I don't want to add any water while my plants are sleeping. So I start watering after they're awake, which is past 6 a.m. Give them 30 minutes to wake up before I give them any water. Irrigation end time, 6 p.m. The lights turn off at 10 p.m., but I still don't want to be oversaturating the root mass right before they go to sleep. That's just not a healthy thing for them unless I see that they're visibly dried out, and I'll manually go and give them some water. But this right here is very important. It'll say water every 6 hours and 20 minutes. And time until next watering, about 4 hours from now we'll get one. But actually, since it's 3 p.m., this will actually not trigger. It will be blocked by our irrigation end time. And we did the 6 hours and 20 minutes because that will allow us to get 2 cycles in on one day and 3 on the next. So we're not just, we were having a little bit of an overwatering problem. So instead of having 3 watering events per day, we just do 2 on one day and 3 on the other. We found that works for us, but you can really customize this as much as you want to and have multiple equations going. I have 2 schedules, so I'll go back here, go into our schedules again, and I have 2 schedules active right now because this one actually at the bottom is not active, but this one, or maybe it is. Yeah, that's the mother room irrigation, so that's separate from our flower and vegetative irrigation processes, which are way more used, way more important for us right now. So right here, this sample, I just added a 1 minute watering event. Here we go, 1 minute. And it's only, oh, this is a good thing I should show you. I'll go back. So this schedule that I just clicked into is only watering one zone, but how do I know that? You go to zones to water up here, and you'll have this option here. It'll say, okay, this is the only one that's active. And if you want to change that, you can go to this drop down here, and you'll have all your possible zones, your grow rooms, and you can add and remove them. And I have this extra schedule going for the flower room 1 because it needs just a little bit more water than the other rooms. So to do that, I have added a separate schedule for it, and it just gives it an extra minute every day, which I have deemed good enough for now. So yeah, that was the irrigation system there. Let me click through and make sure we're not missing anything. There's one more view. If you go into irrigation zones, you can see each individual one, and it'll say time since watering for each of these. The mother room is inactive. We don't have any irrigation lines active there. This one, it watered 2 hours ago, and right now they're all outputting 0. So that's very useful. And if you click into here, you can even see like a little more of a detailed view, just to show you, this is kind of your command center. Like whenever I walk into the grow, I will click into this and I'll see, okay, like it was watered 2 hours ago and it's not going to get watered for the rest of the night. So if I see any dry plants, I should take care of those. Whereas if I were to walk in here and it said, you know, watered 6 hours ago and it's about to water in 20 minutes, and I walk through, I see a few dry plants, I'm not going to touch those because I know the irrigation is about to kick on and give them some water. So this is a very good, very helpful view here, and really this is the majority of what I use the Argus system for, is just taking care of water. The last function I think I should show you would be our CO2 enrichment, which we've already touched on before, but can't hurt to go over it again. Right here we have a manual option. I really never use that. I'm not a big fan of using manual switches because you can just leave them on and it'll just gas CO2 permanently, and that's just not good. Right here in our program, for each individual room you'll have to set these CO2 targets, and right here we have a gradual increase. We're not even using too much right now because the lab is at a quiet time, so that's fine, but the max this room will hit is 500. Atmospheric CO2 is around 400 parts per million, so we're really, like, this is like an inactive dosing schedule. It's like just enough to keep the plants where they want to be. If I was really pushing it like in a flower room, this would be like 1400. Really 1000 to 1200 for our sake, and other people will push it up 1500, and that's if you have, I guess you would say, like an unlimited supply of CO2, and we have to conserve ours because we have small tanks and we manually bring them down here. So in our schedule here, we just denote a minimal use, but you have to manually enter all of these numbers into here and change those. And then also on your home screen, you'll get your CO2 current numbers, and these are pretty low, so I'm going to go bring those up a bit. And yeah, this is the Argus control system, used on a pretty small scale, but that's the thing about it is that's so nice, is it's the same kind of concept, and then it just scales very easily. So if I have 4 rooms now and I want to add 10 more, all I'm going to do is just keep adding onto these here, and my parameters will already be in the system. I could just continue expanding this. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Cheers.